Hey guys, are you waiting for Paul and Patrick? Because at the moment they're away in Florida.
Hi everybody, here we are in Florida. We really are here. That was just Chris on the balcony at Timdorf. We're in beautiful Florida. Welcome to week 4 of 2010 from our beautiful home in Orlando, Florida. Here we are.
Cheers everybody. Cheers,
yeah,
Paul.
cheers. Florida orange juice for a drink this week. Excellent. So,
we've got someone who's back with us. You might be able to see him back there.
Sven's back enjoying the rays. So his job's improved a lot since the temperature's increased 30 degrees. So yeah, we're in Florida for the next 3 weeks. We've got 3 weeks of podcasts from Orlando, Florida. We'll be talking about all sorts of interesting things, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. First of all, on the tour, Pat.
On the tour, it's changed a lot this week, hasn't it? The last 2 weeks, European tour were very strange, not a lot of big names. And now, this week, in America, Bob Hope Classic, although it's a very big tournament, the names aren't very big. The leader is Alex Prue.
Alex Prue, yeah, well-known guy, not. He's actually qualified. I checked it out online because I hadn't a clue who he was either. He's qualified over the Nationwide Tour last year, and this is the first round he shot. His scoring average last year was 81.3, and this year he's leading. So how's he doing?
Good job, awesome. Alex.
Good job, yeah.
Then Bubba Watson second, but that's enough from that tournament. It's boring. Let's go to Abu Dhabi. That's awesome. Leading Ian Poulter and Kayma, and the 3 bowlers, McIlroy, Kayma and Poulter together. Awesome 3 balls.
Awesome, yeah, awesome group. Yeah.
We can't really watch the last round, but I'm sure you probably know who's won already.
Yeah, you'll know who's won already. We don't, because we're behind you in time. It's in the morning here. It's early morning, and we're sat by the pool enjoying a glass of Florence orange juice, and Sven's catching some rays. So awesome. We talked last week about wedges and grooves, and we told you about the new groove rule, and we want to talk a bit more about that because we didn't have that much time to actually discuss that. And if you remember last week, I hope you tuned in last week. We talked about the new grooves that won't spin the ball all that much and how that's going to change golf, and quite a big subject actually for us, isn't it, Pat, in our teaching?
It is. I mean, we've been teaching that way the last year as well, haven't we?
Now, this is what you've got to deal with when you have Atsubis who think they're on holiday. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, it is interesting for our teaching because we see a lot of people trying to spin the ball a lot, which
most people don't really do anyway.
Which they don't do anyway. But what I want to tell you about is with these grooves here. If you look at a wedge, I mean now the ball's not going to get as much friction on the face, so it won't actually spin that much. So what we want to see people doing, which they have to do now, particularly you better players, is you're not going to be able to tilt the club too far forwards and shut off the loft and try and get spin, because that's not going to work anymore with the new grooves. And we see a lot of people doing that in our short game schools and so forth. People, closing the loft down a lot.
I see a lot of teachers actually still teaching that.
Well, sadly, yes. Yeah. And if you look at our 58-degree wedge, this is a Vokey wedge with we've got to get a Vokey plug in there. 58 degrees loft and 12 degrees bounce, and if you actually roll this club forwards 12 degrees forwards, what have you ended up with?
No bounce.
No bounce, right. So the whole bounce thing on the wedge is not there anymore. So when you're taking your setup, don't I'm just going to ground my club in the water hazard here. Don't have that club too far forwards, because what's going to happen is you're actually going to cut in a lot with the leading edge. And I don't know what you found, Pat, but I found a lot of people don't actually know why they've got bounce in the first place, and they actually want it filed off, which is crazy, really, because that actually helps you not hit it fat, and exactly the opposite than what a lot of people think.
I find a lot of people actually think that they thin the ball through bounce.
Yeah, exactly. Which it doesn't. Yeah, even bounce will bounce into even the hardest ground, so you don't have to worry about that. So what we prefer to see is a wedge position where the hands aren't too far forwards, we have the club a bit more neutral. So obviously, and them using 58 degrees of loft and not 46, which I would be if I put the club 12 degrees forwards, right?
Might as well use a pitching wedge.
Exactly. Yeah. So so that's really important, and I think people are going to have to hit these higher lofted shots now. So we've got a few tips online at Ledbetter DE.
Yeah, look at the pitching tips. You'll see setup wise, and it's a lot different than what you probably think it should be.
Yeah. So so go ahead and do that, and then you'll be using your wedges properly. I think you'll be able to hit a wide range of different shots, higher shots, and use many more clubs in your bag. And you'll probably find those of you who are using like 60, 62, even 64 degree wedges, you probably won't need them anymore if you're setting up with a neutral stance. I mean, obviously, if you've got a guy using a 64 degree wedge because otherwise he can't get the ball in the air, and he's got his hands 12 degrees forwards, then he's only got a pitching wedge in his hand anyway, right, or a gap wedge. So that's our big key on that, and we think you should go ahead and practice that. Get in front of a mirror, get your weight forwards, but just keep the shaft neutral, pointing at your belly, and you'll find you're a lot better. One thing we do want to talk about is the grind on the wedges, actually, very quickly before we finish. We talk a lot about grind on wedges, and what you can see with these two wedges here is that this is my 52 degree gap wedge, and that's just got a regular sole. And what we've got on the 58 degree wedge here is that it's called a C grind. And what a lot of top players have done is they've had this part of the wedge filed off, so that when they open the face, they can put the club down properly and the bounce doesn't actually get too high and too high on one side. And the reason why it's a C shape like this is because just to balance the club up, they do it on the other side as well. And we're going to have a really interesting interview next week with Santiago Mari about wedges and grinding and fitting and all sorts of different clubs. So that'll be really interesting.
We've got a few interviews coming up.
We have, yeah, coming up in the next few weeks. We've got Santiago Mari. We're going to talk to Ian Holloway. I don't know who he is actually. Anyway, we'll find out.
He thinks he knows something about short game.
So he's an expert on the short game, so we're going to be talking to him, and we're going to be talking to Dr. Bob, which should be a great interview. Pat's doing an interview with Dr. Bob, and we're going to hope to do an interview with the king himself, David Ledbetter. So that'll be awesome. Yeah. So great, thanks for tuning in this week. Question of the week, Patrick.
Our question of the week would be, where would you like to go on a golf holiday with Paul and me? Send us your email.
If you want to go at all.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, where's your favourite destination?
Seeing us here in this warm Florida,
exactly.
They must want to go on golf holiday. So
yeah, where would you like to go on holiday? Where's your favourite golf destination? Write in by email. Tell us. Write it on somehow. You can contact us in a number of different ways. www.ledbetter.de, ppp.ledbetter.de. Just go on our website, you'll find us. And we'll see you next week. So thanks for tuning in. Okay.
Thanks. Cheers.
Bye.